listen to like, Thick as a Brick. And like when you're 7 years old and you're going, why am I have to listen to this very, 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 very long song? Thick as a Brick is 37 minutes. But I can sit here at 31 and say, at the end of the day, it's very, 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 it was a great experience having those like music Saturdays. And it all kind of like, combined to be what I am today. And it's like a little bit of everybody.
By any reasonable measure, Joe Bonamassa is the hardest working man in modern blues. Since emerging as a teenage prodigy opening for B.B. King, he has ploughed a tireless path through the blues rock landscape, playing more than 200 shows a year at times and amassing a museum-worthy collection of vintage guitars. But if there's a secret to Bonamassa's success, it isn't just discipline or dexterity, it's reverence. The New York-born guitarist has always been unflinching in his admiration for those who came before, and his playing bears the fingerprints of heroes whose licks, tones and philosophies have become central to his own. As he once said in an interview with Guitar World, "My music is just an extension of all the stuff I grew up listening to. I don't claim to have invented anything, I just try to honor the tradition while putting my own stamp on it." So who are the players who made the greatest impression on Bonamassa? The list is long and eclectic, but a select few names rise repeatedly to the surface whenever he's asked. Together they form a vivid portrait of a guitarist who has spent his life not only learning from the best, but carrying their legacy forward. It all began with B.B. King. For Bonamassa, the connection wasn't just musical, it was personal. B.B. was more than an influence, he was a mentor, he told Premier Guitar. Opening for him at 12 years old changed my life. King's vibrato, lyrical phrasing and inimitable voice on the guitar were, in Bonamassa's words, like a singer caressing a phrase. He likens B.B.'s control and economy to that of a great jazz vocalist. He was the Frank Sinatra of the blues. Every note had intent. There's a reverence in the way Bonamassa describes King's restraint. While he himself is capable of blistering flurries and pyrotechnics, B.B. taught him the power of patience. "You don't need to play 1,000 notes," Bonamassa explained. "One note, played with the right vibrato and feel, says more than any run ever could." If B.B. King embodied purity and control, Jeff Beck represented mystery and chaos. Bonamassa considers Beck a kind of magical figure, capable of bending the rules of physics and expectation. Jeff Beck made the blues angry and mean, he told Guitar World. He changed the rules. He was the greatest rock guitar player that ever was. Beck's death in 2023 hit Bonamassa hard. "There's a hole in the world now," he said in tribute. "He was a national treasure." It's not hard to understand why. From the wild phrasing of truth to the experimental elegance of blow by blow, Beck's output left a permanent impression on Bonamassa's own trajectory. In his live shows, Bonamassa often channels Beck's sense of drama, those elastic bends, guttural growls, and sly harmonic tricks. Yet what he most admires is Beck's refusal to conform. "He was a rebel, but he had finesse," Bonamassa explained. "You couldn't pin him down, that's what made him dangerous." Every blues guitarist of a certain generation owes something to Eric Clapton, and Bonamassa is no exception. But for him, it's not the stadium-filling, Armani-clad Clapton of the 90s who made the greatest impression. It's the Clapton of the Beano album. When I heard the John Mayall and the Blues Breakers with Eric Clapton record, it was like the Rosetta Stone, Bonamassa said. That tone, that phrasing, it was perfect. That's where I learned blues guitar. Bonamassa is quick to credit Clapton for opening the door to the British blues movement, but also for synthesizing the work of American legends in a way that made them more accessible to a new audience. Clapton was the bridge between B.B. King and Jimmy Page. He brought the old world into the new. It's telling that Bonamassa would later share the stage with Clapton at the Royal Albert Hall, a moment he described as the fulfillment of a childhood dream. Bonamassa is a vocal defender of Jimmy Page, particularly against those who claim his live playing was occasionally sloppy. It's not about perfection, it's about imagination, he told Classic Rock. Jimmy was a composer as much as a guitarist. He built worlds. Page's work with Led Zeppelin, particularly the first 4 albums, left a deep mark on Bonamassa's approach to structure, texture, and riff writing. He brought the blues into a much darker, heavier place, Bonamassa said. Whole lot of love, dazed and confused. That's primal stuff. What Bonamassa most admires about Page is his command of atmosphere. He understood the power of silence, the drama of reverb. You can hear the room in those Zeppelin records. If there's one guitarist Bonamassa seems genuinely mystified by, it's Albert King. He was the Immaculate Conception as a guitar player, he said, only half joking. Nobody played like that before him, and nobody's done it since. Albert's upside-down left-handed playing gave him a sound so unusual that Bonamassa calls it almost alien. But it wasn't just his unorthodox technique that impressed, it was the attitude. Albert didn't play notes, he threw them at you. In Bonamassa's phrasing, one hears Albert's swagger, that stinging upward bend, that raw, unfiltered delivery. There's a violence to his playing, he said. It's not pretty, it's powerful. Of the 3 kings, Freddy may be the most underrated, but not in Bonamassa's book. Freddy had the whole package, he said. He could sing, he could wail, and he could make you believe every word. Bonamassa has frequently cited Freddy King's instrumental tracks, like The Stumble and Hide Away, as formative. He was the guy you studied if you wanted to understand phrasing, he explained. Freddy taught me how to take a simple motif and build it into something explosive. But there was more to Freddy than mechanics. He had soul, Bonamassa said. He played like a man fighting for his life. Among European guitarists, few loom larger in Bonamassa's imagination than Rory Gallagher. The Irish firebrand's relentless energy and unvarnished sincerity have made him something of a patron saint to modern bluesmen. Rory was the real deal, Bonamassa said. No gimmicks, no flash, just pure raw emotion. He recalls watching footage of Gallagher tearing into Bullfrog Blues and being awestruck. It wasn't clean, it wasn't polished, but it was alive. For Bonamassa, Gallagher represents a kind of purity that's increasingly rare. He didn't care about fashion or fame, he cared about the music, and it showed. If Albert King was unorthodox, Sunonny Landrith is downright otherworldly. Bonamassa marvels at Landrith's ability to blend slide guitar with complex fretting, calling it some kind of voodoo. He's doing things no one else even attempts, Bonamassa said. It's not just slide, it's slide and fretting and muting and tapping all happening at once. It's like hearing 3 guitarists play at the same time. While Bonamassa occasionally dips into slide playing himself, he regards Landrith as being on another plane. He's a scientist. He re-engineered what the slide can do. Chris Whitley may not be a household name, but for Bonamassa, he's essential listening. Chris was special, he said. He had this haunted quality to his voice and playing, like a ghost singing through the wires. Whitley's sparse, emotionally charged music made a deep impression on Bonamassa, especially his 1991 album, Living with the Law. It was like nothing else out there, he explained. He wasn't trying to impress anyone, he was just bleeding onto the tape. Bonamassa honors Whitley's memory not only through words, but through tone. His stripped-back acoustic work echoes Whitley's Spartan sensibility. Sometimes the less you play, the more you say. Perhaps the most surprising name on Bonamassa's list is Kevin Bright, a Canadian guitarist known primarily within jazz and experimental circles.
Tell you what, you got the king, Kong, strut, look at him. Look at him.
But Bonamassa is effusive in his praise. Kevin is unbelievable. He plays slide in a way I've never heard before. Bright's inventive, off-kilter style appeals to Bonamassa's own appetite for surprise. He'll hit a note that sounds wrong, and then make it sound right. That's genius. While Bright's influence may be more subtle than, say, B.B. King or Jeff Beck, it reflects Bonamassa's wide-ranging taste and openness to left-field inspiration. Great music doesn't have to be famous, he said. It just has to be real. Bonamassa often describes himself as a conduit, someone who takes in the work of the masters and reintroduces it to a new generation. I'm a bridge between the old and the new, he said. I keep the flame alive, but I also try to move things forward. In that respect, the guitarists who shaped him aren't relics, they're co-conspirators. Their voices, phrases, and ideas continue to evolve through his fingers, night after night, on stages across the globe. Every time I pick up a guitar, Bonamassa said, I hear BB, I hear Albert, I hear Rory. They're all in there somewhere, and if I'm lucky, I add a little bit of myself to the mix. It's a mix forged in vinyl and sweat, in solitude and on stage, and in Joe Bonamassa's hands, it's still speaking loud and clear.